How well did you know Lieutenant Astor?
We spent some time together.
Hello and welcome back to Star Trek Sodium. This week we have Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 3, Episode 5, The Bonding, which is the tale of young Jeremy Astor, whose mother is accidentally killed in an away mission. 53rd overall episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Now here's some facts that I've discovered. Now The Bonding was originally going to be the highly anticipated James Bond and Star Trek crossover that Rick Berman had always wanted, with a clever episode name. But as the relationship between Paramount and MGM corroded in the late 1980s, they scrambled for a script that would fit the episode title. Luckily, Ronald D. Moore's script was at the top of the pile, and seeing the name R. Moore at the top of the page, Berman's first thought was that it had actually been written by 007 actor Roger Moore. Thankfully, it turned out to be a script by the amazing Ronald D. Moore, as Roger Moore's writing was supposedly awful.
Lieutenant Astor is survived by a son, Jeremy, 12 years old. He's aboard the Enterprise.
This soapy episode has two notable guest stars. First was the actor Gabriel Damon, playing Jeremy Astor, who was possibly named after the Ferengi military rank, who puts in a terribly somber and morose performance. What lots of people don't realise is that the surname of his character, Jeremy Astor, is actually short for asteroid. If you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Secondly, and more importantly, this episode features a return of Chief O'Brien to the Next Generation, perhaps the best character in all of Star Trek, here in one of his 225 appearances. Now we all know that this episode is called The Bonding, but did you know that during the early scripts this actually had several different names that it went through? Other script names in contention for the episode, other possibilities, were Space Jeremy, Space Bond, The Bonding, Enterprise Bond, Jeremy Bond, Health Suggestion, Star Runners, Abigail, and Legion of the Space Despair Annihilists. Something that lots of people don't understand about the Data Robots actor Brent Spiner was that he was possibly having trouble hearing because his ear had gotten stuck. As a short-term solution, he had studied the scripts of the other actors and did a great job of guessing when they were talking and when they'd stop talking, so that he could say his lines in all the right places. So the next time somebody on the street tries to tell you that Brent Spiner isn't a man of action, you'll be able to teach them a thing or two. The original script's B story was about Data replicating a talking parrot who would sit with him on the bridge, copying and mimicking the robotic bridge officer's key phrases. The producers had taken up a lease on a trained parrot from Hollywood Zoo, but despite being trained, the bird left feathers and the occasional droppings all around the studio set. The plan to keep the parrot for the rest of the Hensing season was scrapped, and the scenes were cut from The Bonding, like pizza being cut from a toy boy's diet.
Do you know Jeremy well?
But I know what this is going to be like for him.
That's part of life in Starfleet, Wesley.
Young actor Gabriel Damon didn't know what hit him when he met the actor Marina Citrus. All she would talk about was her Christian church, and she would try time and time again to try and get the young man to worship her made-up God with her. In the end, the actor's parents had to step in to ensure that he became a regular at the church, signing him up for several years. The Worth actor's girlfriend at the time was the popular actress Meg Ryan, and she was visiting the set at the time that The Bonding was being filmed. She was allegedly rivals with Whoopi Goldberg, who was not in this episode thankfully, and so Meg Ryan supposedly approached Michael Piller and Rick Berman and pleaded with them that they sack Whoopi Goldberg as soon as possible and give Meg the part of Guinan instead. Luckily, Rick Berman had a soft spot for Goldberg and so refused to get rid of her. Otherwise, we would definitely have had a different actor playing Guinan from this point. It would have been Meg Ryan. Gates McSomething's husband was the proud owner of a rice melon farm just outside of the Hollywood Valley, so she would frequently bring punnets of the pungent fruits to share with her co-workers. Disliked by nearly everyone, the rice melons were eventually just left outside with the rest of the garbage behind the studio, where they would surely attract Angelo rats from the Hollywood sewers, which were world famous for their insurmountable infections. Nobody has ever seen my special dance. Those of you with eagle eyes might have noticed that Will Wheaton wasn't in this episode very much. This wasn't because of a feud between him and this week's young guest star Gabriel Damon. It was because Will Wheaton had to stay at home following his dramatic electric shock after having fallen out of his bedroom window onto a power line whilst trying to see a beautiful sunset that was just out of line of sight around the side of his house. Visitors to him during this time of recovery would tell him that the sunset had been so beautiful that day that they thought that they'd died and gone to heaven. It's such a shame that he missed this beautiful sunset. And the comment of the week goes to Aaron Dyer, pianist, who says, "Who the hell is Martin Lunch? I don't see he appears in the episode. He isn't credited, so why is he worthy of a mention here?" Well, he's worthy of a mention because he's in the fact. Thanks very much. Thanks ever so much for checking out my super interesting facts that you didn't even know about Star Trek Next Generation Season 3 episode The Bonding. If you liked it, like it. If you feel like commenting, comment. And if you want to subscribe, do that. Thanks ever so much, and I'll catch you next time for some more Star Trek facts. Oh, good one!